Welcome to the 2026 TEFAF. This year we are sharing a stand with the BorzoGallery. The BorzoGallery has been in the hands of the Rosmalen family for 102 years, 3 generations, and the Mayor Gallery has been in existence for 101 years with 2 generations. So that's 5 generations for 203 years, which I think is fairly impressive. We thought we would combine and really do a museum show exhibition. So we start with Verena Lozenberg. This is maybe the biggest painting she ever painted. You know I love her work immensely. This is extraordinary. She only used oil paint, all by hand, no taping, and the whole, it zings. It just says it all. Tajiri, who I've spoken about often, who's a Japanese American, this is a very exciting, there's a lot of mainly eroticism in his work, and this is an early 50s called Carnivorous Plant. Then this is an extraordinary work by Nicholas Schofer. I met originally his widow. There was a marvelous show in Budapest where just before it opened, and she showed me all over it. The problem with the Schofer market is they never wanted to sell anything, and they made multiples or additions of later work. But this one is from Nelly von Doesburg, and then it went to the Rothschild collection in America, and we got it from there. So you couldn't have a better provenance, and it's an extraordinary work. Then we have the pièce de résistance of the show, which is probably Constant's greatest work, Ode de Odeon. This is what he did following the riots in '68, and the Odeon was taken over by students, and so this is, you can see them all. And he was always very political, so this is sort of dismantling his utopia of New Babylon, but it's an extraordinary painting. It's never been on the market before. For years it was on loan to the now Kunstmuseum, which was the Gemeentes Museum in The Hague, and it's come from there to here. Really extraordinary. With it, a very beautiful sculpture, again by Constant, although it's earlier, you can see it's a pure Babylon, New Babylon piece. We'd wanted to try and get more sculptures from the estate, but they said no. They'd lent a whole lot of sculptures to the new museum in New York's reopening, so he's getting known further away, thank goodness. A beautiful little selection of Latin American work. Feliza Bursztyn, who I only came across a few years ago. She was a fantastic welder. She was conceived in Poland, born in Bogota, got sort of quite political and fled via Mexico, got to Paris in about 1983. She was born in 1933, and in the beginning of '81 she got to Paris and died very soon afterwards, but she really is extraordinary. Mira Schendel, again, born in Zurich and went to Brazil, became an artist in the early 50s. And I think she's one of those artists that never had a bad period of creativity in her life. But this is, I think, the texture, everything, the color. And so either side is Waldemar Cordeiro, again from Brazil, but was born Italy in 1923. Father disappeared quite soon after he was born, and so after the war, as soon as he could, he went to Brazil looking for his father, and they found each other, had dinner, and never talked to each other again. And so this is pure concrete one, and this is this sort of transition, but this is like, to me, like an early Mondrian. It tones and the colors and everything is quite extraordinary. I love it dearly. 3 of the 4, well, maybe 5, null artists who were the Dutch equivalent of zero. So we have Jan Henderikse, Henk Peters, and Armando. Was brought up by a concentration camp And so his null work, which he then denied, and then the last sort of 10 years of his life agreed it was very important and came back to it. It would have helped if he'd never denied it. Two structuralists, Gorin and Cairoli. Cairoli was from the Argentine and went to Paris. This is from the early 50s, and he was obsessed with plexiglass. The later work was all plexiglass, and any money he ever got went on plexiglass, much to the chagrin of his son. A bit of plexiglass appeared rather than the summer holiday. Another Tajiri, when he was in Paris, he combed the Seine and found junk. He and Cézanne knew each other, and you can see there's an influence. One influenced the other. Which one, I don't know. And it lines up, I think, beautifully with this Canogar, who was 90 last year. He uses his fingers, he does the whole thing, and then you see all these secret colours coming in. Some are more sexual than others. Akkerman, a Dutch artist who I only come across recently. Dekkers, who died very young, whose work we've shown a few times. I think he's absolutely magical. And then this is a more recent discovery of mine, of ours, Raimund Girke, but this is from the 60s. And this is one of my favorite ones with all these colors. You know, if he'd been American, everybody would have known he was. But as I've said before, Americans, really, you couldn't sell German art in America till the late 70s. Somehow Basilitz's sort of eagles were sold by Xavier Fourcade, but before that it was sort of verboten. But this has everything Agnes Martin ever could have had. Magical to me. Very popular in public spaces in Amsterdam, rather called Volten. He never had a figurative period of his life, so they went straight in, after the war, straight into abstract. Klaus Stout, who I always loved the work of, another one over 90 now, and a lot of it is caused by the coloured plexi. It's a play on light. This is the same as that, but by the light you're tricked into the very peaceful, magical Morellet. My interest in Morellet, the gallery's interest in Morellet, is basically from the early 60s to the very early 70s. It's so simple but complicated. Now, you can look and see how it works, and it's 4 panels and the mathematics and everything. But then if I asked you look at it for 5 minutes and then you go away and I ask you to draw it, you'll get it wrong. Kuwama, with his wife, left Japan in '58, got married and went to America because they just felt that there was no future for the sort of art that they were doing. His earliest shows were with the Green Gallery, which was Dick Bellamy, supported by Bob Scull. And the first show, he painted the paintings inside the gallery. When the show ended, realized the paintings were bigger than the doorway. So after that, he came down to making panels, whereas in fact, this is one single thing, but he's painted it as if it's 3 panels with the aluminium frame to it. He died, sadly, a couple of years ago, and his wife is still alive, and their apartment in New York was just pure haven from the world. They were in Midtown Manhattan. You hear the trucks the whole time outside. You went in there, pure peace. And so we have a Gerhard von Gravenitz. All his pieces are about chance, and he was best friends with Morellet, who there's no chance at all in his. So, but it's interesting, they were great friends, and sadly, Gravenitz died very young, and it doesn't repeat itself. It's absolutely on its own wave. Imre back, who I think is the most interesting painter from Hungary in the 60s and 70s. People might say it's stellar, it isn't. He came to London in the mid-60s and saw a pop art show at the Tate, and that completely changed his style and everything. He is the greatest one from Hungary, an extraordinary fontana with 4 slits, which I think are so musical and beautiful, and a Manzoni from that. Now they both came from Karol Wiese's family. Karol Wiese's brother was a huge collector called Martin Wiese, who left most of his collection to the Kröller-Müller. Both of these had been for a long time on loan to the, again like the Constant in The Hague. An extraordinary Schoenhoven from 1970 that hasn't been on the market for 20 years, been exhibited over a long period of time. It has everything you want in it, and it has tremendous wall power. We have another Visa, and then there's a little Calzolari with little gold stars and shooting stars and everything, and this mysterious interplanetary whatever. Find him a fascinating artist. Again, all this is quite late. It's very beautiful. We have a room of surprises. So we got De Vries, Schoenhoven, Stoichen, Kohler, Marlowe Moss, Morellet, Stanzak, Tomasella, and then Akkerman, Vera Molnar, Braco Dimitri, Paul Teck, Bram van der Velde, Hilgemann, Reuters, Billy Apple, Constant, Charlotte Caspers, and many others. So it's just a sort of light relief, something for everybody. A couple who made a series of sculptures from a Mondrian drawing, and I think this is the last one. The biggest one is in the Kröller-Müller, but it's quite extraordinary. So then there's another Bram van der Velde there, and a Constant of the constellation. So there's a sort of a relationship there between them all. We have an extraordinary set of 4 works by Herman de Vries. These are all natural soils that he's spread onto the things. The final thing we have, a Major Uka, who has an exhibition at the moment at the Art Museum just outside Bonn. I hope you can come and visit us. We're in London. We'll be opening the 3rd part of our centennial show with Eastern Europe and the Pacific. Thank you and hope to see you soon.